Okay, hello everyone. It is another Friday morning. Love Your Liver live stream with me, Dr. Garrett Smith, known as the nutrition detective around these parts. If somebody wants to maybe Hive, if you want to give me a microphone check and just let me know how I'm sounding, make sure there's no echo and I got the right microphone on this time. I'm very sorry about last week, folks, with the microphone thing. I think instead of my studio mic, it was recording off of my webcam mic. So I had just changed computers and hadn't fixed all that. So anyway, I thought I would go over today a kind of a review. So since this is our 53rd episode, we've done it weekly for a year now because we do it weekly and I haven't missed a week. I thought I'd review the basics of the cholestasis toxic bile as the cause of most chronic modern disease, the theory of all of this. So that those of you who are new here can catch up and understand it better. And as I go along in this, kind of bleeding edge of figuring out what medicine has either suppressed or been unwilling to look into or admit, I'll explain the theory. So then when you watch my other videos and you read about other things on the internet and you see other medication side effects and you start learning about all this, then you start to be able to really put it together. If you want to fast forward your understanding of this stuff, obviously watch the rest of these live streams because I connect it every week. The very first live stream I went over this theory. And then when you watch the other videos on this channel, then you can start to put together what vitamin A actually does. It's one of the many things that causes this cholestasis problem, this toxic bile in your blood, the self-poisoning that everyone thinks they're going to detox from. Like everybody who wants to detox doesn't understand how to get it out of them often without hurting themselves more. And this is exactly what we're going to try to do. And when I cover this testimonial that I'm about to go into, those of you who have your doubts about this theory, this approach, I went over a great testimonial a week or two ago covering so many symptoms that had improved. And yes, there were still some things that this person was working on, but the list of improvements, just like the one I'm going to go over today, is just huge. So just a reminder, folks, today's going to be all Q&A after the testimonial and after I cover the things in the testimonial. So if you got questions, post them up in the chat. Remember, you have to be subscribed. And one other thing I wanted to ask you is to get this out further to people so that other people can learn about this. Those of you who are raving fans already, you're going to want to like this video. If you're in the chat right now, you have to kind of X out of the chat to go and you have to X out of the chat to go and like the video. And that really helps the algorithm to, these algorithms that run our lives now, helps the algorithm to spread it to other people who might be interested. Hi, Sabrina. Nice to have you here today. So here is, this testimonial, I'm not going to say this person's name, but there is a vitamin A toxicity group on Facebook. It is not my group. I comment there on occasion, but it is people doing this mainly on their own. Many of the people there are in the Love Your Liver program. And it is a place where people can go and exchange information. Obviously, it's not my group. I don't agree with everything that's being promoted there. And that's why I don't comment there too often. But it can be a useful place for people to do things. And as you'll see with this testimonial. Okay, so here we go. So this can be found in the vitamin A toxicity group. It is a relatively publicly open group, but you do have to answer some questions to get in there. So I'm not going to say this person's name, but if you wanted to find it, it's there. Okay, here we go. Quoting, 3-year and 3-month update. I am not in the Love Your Liver program, though I've always wanted to be, mostly because I still cannot afford it financially because I'm working less due to this poisoning. But each year I feel better and bounce back harder. I go with my intuition and follow my patterns very closely, and I read and watch as much as I can what Garrett Smith shares and what everyone in this group shares, especially Jenny, Kathy, and Andrew. Here goes my list. Better. So she's saying things that are better since she's been doing this. Panic attacks, dizziness, after 2 years of constant unbearable dizziness 24/7 like being on a boat. Stopped benzos 1.5 years ago, benzodiazepines, that's anti-anxiety drugs, which I now realize were needed because of bile in my blood and brain. Ears more clear, clean teeth, small gum regrowth. Jawbone fully healed after jaw injury surgery, amazed by the bone and gum regrowth. Neck and shoulders way more flexible, ropiness in neck gone. Weight loss, each year lose some, gain a bit, only to lose a bit more. Bum cheek, butt cheek for you Merkins, bum cheek pain gone. Hair softer, arm hair regrowth, more hair than I have ever had. 6 months ago, lost all my arm hair. Sleep, mostly deep, sometimes wake, but usually only once. Some ASD, I'm assuming that's autism spectrum, that she's abbreviating there. Some ASD symptoms have lessened. I am calmer, more joyful, eye contact better, can go with the flow easier. Red thread veins improving after discovering iceberg lettuce. She put vitamin K there. Freckles disappearing on face. Can be longer in the sun, hardly burn. Bounce back more quickly in general. Head pressure way less, almost gone. Next section from her says, getting better, small improvements. Brain fog, forehead rash, mostly from sulfite foods, poor detox. Morning anxiety, much better. I notice it on days I have been pushing too hard the soluble fiber, or when I need more potassium. Breathing exercises have been a lifesaver on this diet. Skin, especially face and arms. Vision in right eye. Feet no longer orange. Feet softer. Heels still dry. Sometimes they improve. Tinnitus has improved a lot. OCD, as an obsessive compulsive disorder, ups and downs. Right shoulder pain came up this year for me. I think it's related to zinc deficiency, slowly getting better, but I go very gently with the zinc, magnesium, selenium, and molybdenum. Supplements scare the crap out of me, which can be, this is an aside, that can be a very wise approach for those who know they're sensitive to supplements. The last part, little to no improvement. Skin on hands. Beef intolerance. It was great eating beef in the beginning of the diet. I came into the diet as a vegetarian, but now it appeals far less, so I eat more chicken and beef mostly when I crave it. Chronic cough after being ill, but no more coughing before I sleep, which is amazing. Breathlessness. When I push the diet too hard with fiber, she means soluble fiber, especially oats, so no more oats for now. Right nerve in eye the same. It sometimes flares, can't find a pattern. Libido high, sometimes very low. It fluctuates. Thread veins on thighs and ankles. Outer eyebrows still thin, less lashes, little improvement. Okay, so now we're into another paragraph. In the beginning of this diet, I thought I'd be better in 5 to 6 weeks. Then I gave it 6 months. That turned into a year, and now after 3 years, I just keep going. And she put a smiley face. Because the improvements are happening, mostly slow, but they are happening. It's been difficult to get those close to me on board, especially when I am still improving myself. But wow, when I look back to where I was 3, 4, 5 years ago, I am blown away. Maybe those closest to me will see this. I have so much gratitude to all of you, especially to Garrett and Grant and Andrew and Jenny and many others. Thanks for reading. And then she ended with a smiley face. So when I say that this toxic bile theory, subclinical cholestasis, which is not really subclinical, if you measure your serum bile, well, the LabCorp tests that they run, there is serum bile, so bile in your blood, and fractionated bile acids. Those are the two tests available from LabCorp. If those are anything above the absolute minimum, which they go down to a certain level and they'll say less than 0.1 or 0.2, they're saying that if it's below their detection limits, that's what I'm after, because that's the lowest they measure. If you have anything above those numbers, if you're registering bile acids in your blood, you have cholestasis. That's the definition of cholestasis, is bile in your blood, basically. What are we working on with the low vitamin A diet? With the other things that we are doing, we are working on facilitating getting the toxic bile out of the body, which is not just dumping more. It's not just bile dumping. If you go out there and you think you're just going to push bile dumping, you're going to have a bad time. Just as this woman said, when she pushes the soluble fiber too hard, soluble fiber is a two-edged sword in this detox process, because soluble fiber binds to bile, so it grabs onto it so you can poop it out more than you normally do without it. However, too much soluble fiber also triggers you to dump bile, dump more bile. So now when I go into the toxic bile cholestasis theory, you'll understand better about why that can be, why the bile is both the cause of your problems and the solution to your problems. So now that we have that, but I mean, really, what panic attacks less, dizziness less. She was able to stop benzos. Her ears are more clear. Cleaner teeth, smaller, her gums are regrowing. Jawbone healing. Neck and shoulders more flexible. Losing weight. Her butt cheek pain is gone. That may be sacroiliitis. I've been over that on one of the live streams. Vitamin A toxicity in some people causes sacroiliitis. Sacrum, ilium, itis is inflammation. That's the edge of your sacrum in your where the last part you can feel the bone meets your butt cheek on your back. That's your sacroiliac joint. Hard to describe you can just look it up online, sacroiliac joint. And this is a well-known side effect of taking Accutane, one of the three main active forms of vitamin A. If you think that Accutane is a vitamin, if you're so lost or so new to this and you don't understand that Accutane is the exact same form of active vitamin A that your body turns vitamin A into in your body, and if you don't understand that Accutane has one of the worst lists of side effects of any drugs out there, it's not just a drug. If you believe that vitamin A is a vitamin, Accutane is a vitamin. So keep that argument going. Have fun with that, because it is. You can't say they're different either. It's the same compound. I've shown studies here. Retin-A is another active form of vitamin A. That a study on Retin-A where they gave it to veterans, American military veterans, they were giving it to them to preemptively put on their face to prevent skin cancer. They had to stop the study because too many of the veterans were dying early of cancer. Oops. But it's a vitamin, and I can show you a study. Well, let's just go find it, since I haven't put up any study yet. All trans retinoic acid PubMed. Let me find it. Oh, I'm not. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. This is in the in my Accutane. All Accutane you eat turns into vitamin A. The main video on this channel. It's in that video where I show where there's a paper. I just don't want to spend time finding the paper because that might be a little hard to find right now. Where they show eating vegetables raised the amount of retin-A in your blood. Retin-A being all trans retinoic acid. And are people out there really going to argue that if you eat vegetables and it raises the tretinoin in your blood, all trans retinoic acid, are you going to argue that the natural form of retin-A is good and necessary for your body and that the synthetic stuff is somehow bad? Are you serious? Are you going to tell a chemist that? Go and try to tell a chemist that these two molecules do different things. Have fun with that. That would be the pinnacle of pseudoscience. Trying to say that two molecules that test to be exactly the same, that one does something different than the other one. And then if you try to use the argument that, oh, one comes from food and it has all the stuff from nature to protect us, you have just admitted that you need to be protected from this molecule. So you have therefore then said it's a poison. And unless you want to say that you think we need Retinoic as a vitamin, your argument's kind of over. Anyway, back to the toxic bile and cholestasis theory. Since you got to see all those symptoms that I help. Now, I want you to know that this woman is doing this on her own. Actually, you know what? I don't want to say this woman. I assume it's a woman from the name she put on the face, from the name that was put on Facebook. Let me just stop saying it's a woman. I don't know. I assumed. I'm not getting into all the gender nonsense here. I'm just saying I don't know this person's sex. So I should stop saying that. Because the name is a little could anyway, it may not be anyway, that's all on that. Look at all those symptoms that were improved, and this person is mainly doing the low vitamin A approach, and she's doing some other things. See, I keep saying they are doing some other things that they've caught from my free stuff around the internet. And look at all the things that have gone away. When people go, what's your protocol for this, Dr. Smith? And I go, I don't do protocols. I fix the system. I help people fix their system. This person isn't even in the Love Your Liver program. They're not working with me directly. They're using the principles that I have, myself and Grant and Jenny and Andrew and Kathy, Kathy's been with me for like 8 years. Kathy's been working directly with me for 8 years. And so Kathy knows very well what I generally do. And this is the principles. Like, I don't have treatments for all those things that this person is fixing. Principles and concepts rule the day. If you're going to a practitioner who has a protocol, you do this, this, and this, and this, and this when you have this condition. And make sure to take $300 of supplements a month. Only 30 pills a day. And then if you ask them, what happens when I stop taking these supplements? And they're like, you're not supposed to ask that. Oh, the problem comes back. Well, did you fix anything, bro? Ask them what the root cause of it is. And they may give you a root cause, and then they say, take all these supplements, and you go, is this going to fix it forever? Is this going to make it go away? And most of the time, they're not going to have an answer for you because they're not working on the root cause. And I'm about to talk about the root cause, okay? So, toxic bile, cholestasis. Here's what I want to go over. Okay. First of all, the liver is designed to store toxic stuff. If you are still under the deluded belief that the liver is not designed to store toxic stuff, I'm sorry, you're listening to the wrong people who are misleading you. If you go on PubMed and you start typing in the word accumulate liver or accumulate hepatic, and you start typing in things that are known toxins like lead, mercury, vitamin A, copper, iron. Now, I'm not saying that all iron's bad, but you can very easily accumulate too much iron. When you start realizing that and fat-soluble toxins like BPA and dioxins and all of these things that are found to be very high. I've gone over this in my cod liver oil video here. All these fat-soluble toxins are found to be very high in cod liver oil. How did they get there? Your liver stores stuff. It stores toxic stuff. Stop with the thought that the liver's storing these things because it loves you and it wants to help you later. It's storing them because if it let them run free in your system, you would die or you'd be very, very sick. So your liver pulls them out of the blood and holds on to them, kind of like things around your house or at your job where you go, look, I can't deal with this right now. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the resources. I don't have whatever to deal with this right now. So let's just put this in the back room or the garage and just leave it there until I have the time to deal with it, right? That's what your liver does. Your liver pulls things out of the blood. It stores them. And it says, I will do my best to get to you later. Now, in most of our lives, what happens? You never get to that because you have so much going on a daily basis that you never get to that stuff. And what happens? You have something else come up and you put that away and you store the next thing away and you push the next thing aside. And then all of a sudden you have like a whole room of your house that's just full of crap, right? Maybe your garage is just full of crap. You're just storing stuff there because you can't have it in your house that you have to live in every day. So think of it as the storage is the garbage, or the stuff you can't deal with. Your house is your bloodstream. You are trying to keep your house functional. Because if you stored all that stuff in your house, you'd be tripping over it. It would be blocking things. All of a sudden, you can't use the bathroom because you can't get into it. This is how it works. How does your liver try to get rid of those toxic things? Your liver makes bile. Therefore, by definition, the bile is the most toxic fluid in your body. Another simple way of thinking of it is the bile is the liver's poop. Once you think of it like that and you understand that the liver's pooping the most toxic stuff in your body, and now your job is to get rid of it, preferably by you pooping it out. But normally the research says that you only get rid of on a normal basis, you only get rid of about 5% of it a day in your poop. 5%. So that means 95% of it is reabsorbed via what's called the enterohepatic circulation. Entero means gut, intestine. Hepatic means liver. Gut to liver circulation. Think of it as like a circle. Your liver makes the bile. The bile goes into the bile ducts. It goes into the intestines. It goes through the intestines. The whole time it's in the intestines, you're reabsorbing a lot of it. Total of 95% of it in a day. Where does that go? So 5% of it is pooped out. 95% of it is reabsorbed via the intestines. And then it goes into what's called the portal venous circulation, the portal vein circulation. The portal vein is meaning it goes right to the liver. So your gut is like it's like the bouncer, right? And it's letting things are going into the bloodstream of the liver, the portal vein, and that goes directly to the liver. So the liver can then screen it like a bouncer at a door, right? It's saying you can go through, or you are going to be stored here, held here in the liver because we can't get rid of you fast enough right now. And you're going to be put into the bile at a later date. So 95% of it's getting reabsorbed. 5% of it's getting pooped out in the bile. Now, and for any of you who are like, but I've been told bile is so wonderful. We need bile for this. And the problem would be, hey, many of the toxins we talk about here actually slow down bile production. Do you know that when you eat vitamin A, I have the paper on this, I'll have to find it somewhere. It's on my research forum. When you eat vitamin A, you make less bile. Interesting. Where does that bile go? Could be stored in the liver as fatty liver, as we've been over how vitamin A toxicity, it shows very high levels of vitamin A in the liver in the recent research where they figured out how to measure the vitamin A in the liver better. Or it can go backwards into your blood called intrahepatic cholestasis, or cholestasis inside the liver where the bile leaks out and then your bloodstream absorbs it. And then you get problems. So anyway, the bile, the toxic bile, as long as the bile is in your blood, if the bile makes it to your guts, your liver makes the bile, it goes into the bile ducts and the bile goes into your guts. As long as that happens, whatever the good is that the bile is supposed to do is going to happen. Nobody's trying to stop that. Nothing I do ever talks about slowing down bile production unless people push their detox too hard, which you'll understand in a second. So, the toxic bile, what does it do? It is so toxic. Think of it as hot lava. It is so toxic that it eats away at the liver cells that make it. It eats away at the little bile ducts inside the liver. It eats away at the big bile ducts that carry it to the intestines. It eats away at your intestines, which is leaky gut. So for those of you who have tried to fix leaky gut and you never got anywhere with it, that's because you weren't working on the cause. And then it gets reabsorbed and it goes right back to the liver where it gets to go through the same loop again. So do you understand that if you're not getting rid of this toxic bile fast enough, you're actually going to be reconcentrating the bile in the liver to then release it again. So now it gets to go through the same dance again, and now it's even more toxic. It's even hotter lava. So, and if the bile goes backwards up into your stomach, like you know how people can throw up bile? So bile can go backwards up into your stomach. If you have nausea or acid reflux or whatever, we've been over that on these live streams before, that's bile going back up into your stomach, and that toxic bile can eat holes in your stomach. That's called ulcers. Let's go over one way that the toxic bile, could eat holes in things. So, actually, you know what I want to do? Let me go find that article of mine on my old forum about how, let's see. I want to find the post I made about the vitamin A slowing down the bile production. Come on. It's here for you guys who don't know, the nutritionrestored.com/blog-forum. I'll put the link here when I find it. These were my early writings. Come on. Oh, this is terrible. I have it. I'm just not using the right terms to find it. I do not know why I can't find this right now. Anyway, okay. It's there. I'll just have to find it later. Maybe I'll find it for next time. So, anyway, it's actually vitamin A and vitamin D by mouth. The paper goes over if you eat vitamin A or take a supplement, or you eat vitamin D supplements, it reduces bile production. But Dr. Smith, you need bile to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. That's weird that the body has a mechanism to reduce the very thing that would absorb something that I'm telling you is a poison. If I tell you it's a poison and your body says, let's put out less of the thing to absorb the poison, are you seeing the pattern here? Do you think your body is dumb? Or do you think it was wonderfully designed and that it knows what it's doing? I tend to go with the latter. So we're into the toxic bile thing. So I want you to understand that. So cholestasis, what is cholestasis then? Subclinical cholestasis or outright clinical cholestasis? What this means, and also the term liver injury. If you see the word liver injury or cholestasis or cholestatic, and you start going and searching for different things, and you find that they cause liver injury or cholestasis or cholestatic injury or cholestatic stuff, you know that that's a problem. That's causing this problem. Like if you were to go and look up oral contraceptives and liver injury, you're going to find a ton of stuff. And what's the biggest thing that messes women up these days? Birth control pills, IUDs. They cause liver injury. Notice that they also use copper in IUDs. And it's been shown since 1975. You can watch my birth control video on this channel, birth control pills and what they actually do in the body. Birth control pills raise vitamin A and copper, raise vitamin A and copper in the bloodstream. Weird. It's when things are in the bloodstream that they cause all their damage. Birth control pills make you infertile. They raise vitamin A and copper in the blood. Weird coincidence that they make you infertile or that they put a wire made of copper in you. This for all those people out there who are pushing copper as like the solution to everything. The revolution in copper knowledge they think they are. If this was true, why is putting a copper IUD in women not solving all their health problems? Shouldn't it? They're absorbing copper in a very absorptive area all day long, every day. That's been shown as raises copper in their system. Definitely raises copper in your liver. Why aren't they in amazing health? Why do most women say birth control pills ruined my life? Or at least it greatly decreased their health. It was often kind of the start of their health problems, especially if they started them young. It raises vitamin A in your blood and it raises copper in your blood. Let's go back to the toxic bile theory. So, this toxic lava bile is eating holes in everything it touches. Now, in this life, we are constantly damaging things and constantly repairing them. That's normal. That's life. If the rate of damage is way higher than the rate of repair, you fall apart. If we can shift this so we can remove the things that are causing damage, like avoiding toxins and getting the toxins out of the body, then the rate of repair gets to go above it and you start fixing things. All sorts of things, like in that testimonial. Like in the testimonial the week before. All sorts of things that we didn't have to try to fix. This is what we're doing. And all I'm trying to do, if you watch my labs video, my personal labs video, the testosterone nearly 900 labs video of mine, proof of concept, I show my serum bile acids and my fractionated bile acids, and in 6 months, I reduced them by half. There was half as much bile in my blood in 6 months. Is that not proof of concept? And I can say that my health is better than it's ever been in my life. I'm fixing what I say is broken with the approaches that we go over in the Love Your Liver program. And many of these things people can put together. If you want to spend hours and hours and hours on the internet watching videos and reading stuff, because that's where you're at right now, like this other person on the Facebook group, I'm putting this out there to help people. I still have to make a living, but I'm putting a lot of information out there that can help people who want to help themselves. So let's go over what might be in toxic bile that could eat holes in your cells, in your bile ducts, in your gut. Well, retinoic acid, which is the active form of vitamin A, all trans-retinoic acids, specifically retin-A, tretinoin, is one of the things that your body turns vitamin A into. Carotenoids also. Carotenoids are the plant form of vitamin A. Retinoids are considered the animal forms of vitamin A. They use this in aesthetic medicine, cosmetic medicine. It's called a chemical peel or a yellow peel. Yellow. What color is vitamin A? Oh, it's yellow a lot of times. So they put this yellow liquid on people's faces, and it eats away the couple layers of skin on the top. A chemical peel. It's dissolving your face skin. Let me find it. Let me find this. I know I can find this one. So I want you to understand they use it. There's an article here. Retinoic acid peel. I found this is from a dermatological journal. Let me read the quote from it. Chemical peels may be defined as controlled wounds of the skin made by the dermatologist to multiple purposes. They are classified as superficial, medium, and deep according to the depth of penetration of the chemical solutions. The deepest the peelings, the best results, and the greatest range of complications. For the last decades, retinoic acid has been used in higher concentrations for superficial peelings as an effective and safe tool for the dermatologist. Controlled wounds, greatest range of complications, the deeper the peeling. Are you putting it together yet? So imagine, let's say you've accumulated, however it happened, a lot of vitamin A in your liver. Your body breaks down some of that vitamin A into retinoic acids. Retinoic acids dissolve layers of skin. You know how they say your gut reflects your skin and vice versa? So if you were applying via the bile is we put vitamin A, retinoic acids into the bile to try to get rid of them. So now you've just put chemical peel into your bile. This is the hot in the hot lava. And it is dissolving superficial, medium, deep. The more that's in there, the greater the complications. Now, once that hot lava eats holes in the cells, in the little bile ducts, in the big bile ducts, in the intestine, where does it go? It goes into your bloodstream. And now you have the most toxic fluid your body makes. In an effort to get rid of the poison, now the body is self-poisoning itself. You're putting poison into your blood. And that poison can now go everywhere in your body. Your heart, your brain, your kidneys, your skin. It can come back around to your digestive system via the blood. So now your digestive system has to deal with the vitamin A that's coming at it from the inside, and then it comes all the way back around in the bloodstream that feeds the intestines, that keeps them alive. Now you got bile attacking them from both sides. Those of you who have, let's say, especially diarrhea type conditions. Yep. So how do we fix this? Well, for those of you out there who are do-it-yourselfers and who maybe get a little bit of information here and you decide that you've got enough information, I'm going to tell you probably just got enough rope to hang yourself with. The confidence of amateurs is the envy of professionals, and many people who have tried this detox stuff on their own learned the very hard way that you're not as tough as the toxic crap that's stored in your liver. Okay. So people get a little information here and they go, okay, Dr. Smith says we just got to get rid of the bile. So let's do everything we can to dump bile. Let's make more bile. Let's dump more bile. Let's drink tons of coffee. Let's take tons of bitter herbs and do all this stuff and make our bile dump. Newsflash. The reason you have health problems is because you're leaking bile into your blood. If you were leaking X amount of bile into your blood today, and you then do a bunch of things to double the amount of bile you're dumping, you now have 2x worth of bile in your blood, and you feel worse. Just like in that testimonial where she said when she pushes the soluble fiber too hard, she feels worse. What am I constantly telling people to do in the program? When they're complaining of something getting irritated and aggravated that they've had before, slow down. Pump the brakes. I'm the guy out there saying pump the brakes. Stop it. Other people in the on the Love Your Liver program and the vitamin A toxicity group I understand what I'm doing, like the other people she was thanking. A lot of times they're going, pump the brakes. If these things are poisons on the way in, they are poisons on the way out. They don't just automatically leave. Remember, 95% of the bile is reabsorbed in your gut. And whatever's not reabsorbed the normal way is being absorbed into your bloodstream. Where does it go next? Your kidneys. And if your kidneys can't handle the onslaught of toxic bile, then it starts coming out of your skin. And toxic bile that has, chemical peel stuff in it, toxic bile comes out through your skin. And what does it do? It just sits there. This is in opposition to when you poop. The poop is gone, right? It leaves you. You flush it away. If the bile goes to your kidneys and your kidneys put it in the urine leaves you. It's gone. What happens to your skin? It comes out on your skin and it sits there. It just sits there until you wash it off. Now, do you see why with certain, let's say I were to tell you that acne is related to toxic bile, and that there's some people out there that say if I just wash my face often enough with a strong enough cleanser, it helps keep most of my acne or some of my acne down. Does that not fit into this model? Is that not saying I am excreting toxins internally out onto my skin, and if I wash the toxins off often enough and well enough, the symptoms of irritation and toxicity on my skin go down? That's this model, folks. It all makes sense when you start to understand the model. Everything you've done in your life starts to make sense. And the weird thing is, so now we're going to get into the opposite, the duration paradox effect. Certain poisons that you take, whether you realize they're poisons or not, like a lot of supplements and herbs and things of this nature, pharmaceuticals, pokies, they slow down your bile production. And they seem to improve your symptoms. Why is that? How does that work, Dr. Smith? I'm telling you that it is the amount it is the amount of bile in your blood and the recipe of that bile in your blood, whether it's the bile acid variations in it or whether it's the other toxins that are in that bile that are the root cause of your chronic health conditions. So remember how I said if for those who get a little too zealous, too enthusiastic about dumping too much bile, if they used to be leaking X amount of bile into their blood and they double the amount of bile that they start producing and excreting, they've now probably doubled the amount of bile in their blood, and they feel worse. Okay. Let's say somebody takes an herb or a supplement or a drug that then cuts the amount of bile that they're producing by half. Oh, antidepressants. We went over that last week about how those are shown to reduce bile production. So you reduce the amount of bile going into the blood, by half, let's say. So now you have half X bile in your blood and the symptoms improve. Oh gosh, does that mean that the pharmaceutical is good for you? No, it means that now you're just keeping all that toxicity in your you're keeping more of the toxicity in your liver. Your symptoms go away. What happens when a dam slowly builds up too much water behind it? And the dam, let's say the dam was holding really, really toxic water that could actually damage the dam itself. Well, eventually the dam is going to break, and you now have lots of extra toxic bile, toxic water in that dam that then rushes everywhere. And then all of a sudden you have to go on a second antidepressant or a third antidepressant or an anti-anxiety drug and a antipsychotic, because everybody is trying to plug all the holes, like that story of the kid who put his fingers in the dam, right? They're just trying to give you more and more drugs or more and more supplements, higher and higher ascorbic acid, vitamin C, right? We'll just give you an IV now. Oh, we'll give you an IV of vitamin C because obviously that's natural. And they're going to try to shut down the leaks. And eventually the dam breaks again. And all that time you're taking all those meds or all those other things, those are bringing more poisons in, and you're storing more of those in your liver. So you're actually making your liver more toxic. So when the dam breaks, you dump even more toxic stuff all out into your system. This is how it all works. So yes, you can do toxic things to yourself, which is what a lot of, obviously meds do this, but a lot of alternative practitioners don't realize that the things they lean on, the remedies they lean on, they show positive effects short term, but they actually worsen the problem long term. Because all they're after is the short term effects. So the client goes, and the client or the patient goes, "Oh, I feel better. Thank you. Thank you, doctor, for giving me this herb." Did the person have an herb deficiency? No, they most certainly did not. There is no such thing as an herb deficiency. Most drugs are based on herbs, compounds found in herbs. So if they're creating a drug effect for a pharmaceutical that is based on a compound in an herb, and that compound in the herb is not essential to your survival, to your functioning, then the compound in the herb and the pharmaceutical compound are both causing drug-like effects in your body. They are forcing your body to do something that it either can't do, that it doesn't want to do, or it's not ready to do yet. And this is why when you stop taking the herb, you stop the drug-like effect, and the problem is right there again, often worse than it used to be, because now you're more toxic. And that whole time you've been getting more toxic because you're not excreting bile like you're supposed to. Hold on one sec. It all starts to make sense. So I'm going to get to some questions now. But once you understand this concept, and you understand that, so people are all like, well, we got poisons coming in from outside. Well, go look up glyphosate and liver injury. Roundup. Go look up glyphosate, liver injury, PubMed. Let's do this. Here, I'll do it right now for you. So, hold on. On DuckDuckGo, I did a search for glyphosate, liver injury, PubMed. First paper that came up, glyphosate excretion. So the more you're pushing out, glyphosate excretion is associated with steatohepatitis. That's fatty liver with inflammation. And advanced liver fibrosis. That's scarring of the liver. That's like cirrhosis in patients with fatty liver disease. So they're saying the amount of glyphosate you're excreting is associated with the damage, the extent of the problem. Okay, let's keep going. How glyphosate impairs liver condition in the field lizard, histological and molecular evidence. Next, we go toxic effects of glyphosate on the intestine, liver, brain of carp, and on epithelioma papulosum cyprinid cells, evidence from in vivo and in vitro research. What I'm getting at, when you hear liver injury, they're saying cholestasis. They're saying bile is starting to leak into places that it isn't supposed to be. If you ever took a medicine or a supplement or did a weird diet and you're like, I was never the same after that. My health has never been the same. Or you do, let's say, a weird diet and you have a honeymoon phase at the start. This was when you stopped or reduced your bile production. So your symptoms looked like they got better. What's building up behind the dam? The toxicity that you're not getting rid of because you're not making bile. And then at some point, the honeymoon phase on that supplement, on that extreme diet, it ends. The dam breaks. So then you go and start looking for another extreme diet or somebody else to put you on $300 of supplements a month. Or somebody else to tell you to do something that lasts for a month or several or even a couple years. Could even be a couple years. And then all the stuff hits the fan because the dam breaks. People, when they often come into my work, they have no idea of how I look only long term. I don't care about short term unless you're trying to antidote something, unless you're trying to just relieve symptoms. If you're trying to relieve symptoms and you understand what the deeper thing is that you're working on, you can work on symptoms for a little bit. Like if you just need to, if somebody's just like, I'm in so much pain from this, and you go, well, you could do this for a little bit, but we're trying to, underneath it all, we're getting rid of the toxins. We're not putting toxins in, and we're giving the body the minerals that it needs, especially to repair the damage. Do I make people quit their medications? No, I don't control people's medications at all. But oftentimes they're going, I don't really know if I'm ready to quit this medication. Like it really helped my symptoms. And I go, well, we just get you better underneath that. We improve the situation underneath it by giving you what you need and helping you get rid of what you don't want in your system. And then as you feel better, then you feel confident and healthy enough to start reducing the medication yourself. This is how we're getting people off of thyroid medications. I don't lower them. I don't control people's medications at all. We discuss things and they're in control of it. If you ever wanted to talk about empowering medicine, I can't imagine anybody empowering people more than I do, giving them the control of what they can do. And if they ask me, what do you think I should do? I could say, if I was in this situation, I would probably do this. I'm still letting them make the decision. Other practitioners, especially conventional practitioners, will tell you, do this or you can't come back. If you don't listen to me, then I won't work with you. If somebody comes to me and I've had people come to me and they're like, oh, look, I'm not going to do the low vitamin A diet. And I'm like, if you want to pay me money to work with you and just run your minerals, do my blood tests, do the hair mineral analysis, and I'll just tell you what supplements to take. That's fine. This happened with a gentleman. He was like, I don't think I have this problem. I'm not going to do the diet. I'm not going to do that. And I was like, okay, it's your money. It doesn't really professionally fulfill me to work with people like that. Come to find out that young man they know was having like dissociative episodes. If you need to look that up, he was feeling like he was out of his body. And now he tells me then later, and so the person didn't want to do the vitamin. Older gentleman who did learn about the detox, didn't want to watch my video, want to read the detox program that was included in the package, didn't know enough that the gentleman who he was taking care of was Accutane, having mentally unstable dissociative episodes. Accutane is active. That is what's causing it. Oh, well, how do we get rid of the then? Get off the vitamin A. Stop eating sugar. Stop eating dairy. Stop eating chocolate. The things that people who think that sugar and dairy and chocolate aren't connected to acne, those are things that I absolutely take off you on the program. Chocolate's super high in copper. Copper's totally toxic. Dairy's super high in vitamin A. I mean, it's got a lot of vitamin D in it. It's got a lot of calcium in it. Things together in you like gasoline on a fire. And straight sugar, lactose, and over. How do they give fatty liver to rats? How do they give injuries to rats? They can just give them a high fructose diet. You don't eat any sugar. For those of you who have trouble understanding that the world is a gray spectrum, it's not black and white. So if I say that like high fat diet in the research are used over and over to cover injury, cholestasis, blood, and then people think that I'm saying to eat no fat, and I'm like, come on. Or they say, well, wait, you're saying I can't eat fruit because fructose is a problem? I didn't say that. I said high fructose diets. I said high fat diets. Low protein diets also cause liver injury and cholestasis. Am I saying to eat all meat? No. Can that be helpful for some people to get out of rough spots? Yeah, absolutely. I will use it in context with people who come and check up with me, who are working with me doing the testing and consultation packages, weekly follow-ups, weekly follow-up group opportunities to ask questions on stuff like this. Does your practitioner give you twice a week opportunities to ask them questions? Oh, I do. Weird is how I do things different. We do things differently and get different results. It's as simple as that. So back to the questions. Hive said, I got some weird thing this morning while eating my beef. All my veins got cold and I lost power in my muscles. Felt like hypoglycemia, but also could be retinol released for detox. Probably some sort of bile dump. And it leaked in. Could be stress. Could be something else that, I discuss space weather in the program, which is not something you can control, that can just suddenly make you feel like hot garbage. Could be hypoglycemia, but then again, if you go into the research and you start looking at vitamin A and insulin sensitivity, vitamin A intake, the more vitamin A you have go in, the lower your insulin sensitivity. Another way of putting it would be the higher your insulin resistance. Don't know. If you were eating a lot of fatty beef, that will cause a bile dump. Fat induces bile dumping, and people think, oh, that's a good thing. No, because then all that fat that you have running through your system binds to toxins in your blood because that's how your liver stores it. Why do you think I'm saying toxic people get fatty liver? Where would your body store all these fat-soluble toxins that are bound to fats? In fat, maybe? Would that make, if you got an extra toxic liver storing more fat, would we call it fatty liver? What do we have a huge issue with in this toxic world? People getting too fat. Why might they be making extra body fat? To store extra fat-soluble toxins, maybe? Does this all make sense? I can't tell you why that is, Hive. It's just, something happened. And it was probably bile going into your blood. Whatever triggered that. So, Van Gieser says, I try to sense my kidney area after beef. If it bothers, I switch to pork, lean meat. There's a reason why, since ancient times, a lot of religions have said, don't eat pork. It's not because pork is some forbidden health food. It's because pork in general is not a good meat to eat. Is lean pork better than fatty pork? Sure. Do I advocate eating pork to anybody? Nope. So, Hive says, last time I had this cold vein thing, I lost 5 pounds overnight. LOL. That would be, let's say, in this theory, that whatever just happened that gave you those symptoms, Hive, you dumped a ton of toxic bile. Some of it went into your blood and gave you that sensation. The rest of it, hopefully a lot of it, was excreted. You pooped it out or you peed it out and it left your body for good. Now, let's say in this theory of toxic bile, that toxic bile is highly inflammatory. And inflammation tends to cause water retention and weight gain. You have a toxic bile dump, you get a lot of toxicity out of your body, but you have symptoms, poison in, poison out. This is why I tell people, like, if you go and start trying to dump a ton of bile, you may feel like absolute dog crap. So whatever happened to Hive, he dumped a bunch of it. He got symptoms. But the last time this happened, he lost 5 pounds overnight, which was probably saying he got a lot of that very same inflammatory stuff out of him. It all makes sense. You know, if you dump twice as much bile, all of a sudden, you could get symptoms from twice as much bile being in your blood. But does that also mean you have the opportunity to get rid of twice as much of that bile? It's just math. For those of you who think you're tough guys and gals and you're just going to push that bile dumping, you're not going to last. Remember how that testimonial, she was saying like 3, 4, 5 years, how much better she's doing than 3, 4, 5 years ago. And she's been doing this for something like 3 years and 3 months. I keep saying she. Sorry, I don't know. Anyway. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And you may think you're tough. You're not going to last through the suffering of pushing things too hard. And there's no reason you have to. It took you decades to get poisoned. You have been, if you are at this point listening here, you've probably been poisoned for at minimum 2 decades. Maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. You don't get all that poison out of you overnight. It's not 5 or 6 weeks like that person thought. It's years. I tell people to plan on 3 years of doing this well. Does that mean many things get better quickly? As you saw that list from the list last week in the testimonial, the list this week in the testimonial, many things get better along the way. You don't have to be all detoxed to get better. You just need to be less toxic, and then whatever that's related to will get better. And as you get less toxic, then more things go away. So Butch asks, can you recommend a toothpaste or powder that is effective and non-abrasive? I think it's Primal Life Organics, Primal Life Dirty Mouth Tooth Powder, the one with charcoal in it. I wish it didn't have the peppermint oil in it. Menthol is an alcohol like ethanol and retinol and methanol. So they're all in the same family. So would I rather they weren't putting in a smelly alcohol called menthol into that tooth powder? Yeah, but it's also, there's charcoal in it. So I'm not as concerned about it. But that's what I use. I use the Primal Life Organics Dirty Mouth tooth powder, the one with charcoal in it. That's what I like. Then Fabuladium. Is it okay to add iodine to your mouthwash? If not, what should I use? I already got rid of fluoride products. I use no iodides with a D, iodide. I don't use those ever at all anymore. I'm not going to go into iodine here. If you want to add iodine to a mouthwash, that's up to you, but pretty sure that there's no iodine deficiency in your mouth. When you start learning about how they produce iodine products, you find out that iodine is extremely toxic Be very, very careful with iodine. Do we need the teeniest, tiniest bit? Yes. Do I think humans are actually very, very good at recycling iodine? So we don't need that much? I think so. People might look at my diet and go, well, Dr. Smith, you're hardly getting any iodine. You're not even getting the RDA of iodine. And I'm going, do I look hypothyroid to you? Do I have goiter? Where's my goiter? I'm low in vitamin C on those labs too. Do I look like I have scurvy? Does it sound like my brain function is suffering because my vitamin C in my blood is low and I don't get enough iodine? Do you think that maybe most of nutrition for all these decades, this 120 years, has been a complete BS lie? Are we uncovering all of it? So I would much rather use, if you're going to swish, if I was going to swish and I was concerned about something in my mouth, I would personally tend to use food grade hydrogen peroxide or something I'm not going to talk about here that I only talk about in the network because of the improper demonization of it, which makes me realize that it was all true all along about how much this thing helps. So Brian says, wow, I think this sweet lady sharing her testimonial deserves a scholarship to the Love Your Liver program. We'll look into it. We'll figure something out. But if you guys wanted to go and help her out, you know, she's on the vitamin A toxicity group. You can find her. It's easy to find. It was just a post yesterday. So Brian says, when is the Love Your Liver dating app? You're gonna have to do it just like, you know, like people use Instagram, Brian, you know, direct messaging or commenting on posts. So Van Gieser says, I have a love and hate relationship with coffee. I now just use it just on the days I feel constipated. Okay. Coffee. Let's go into that. Coffee. Just about everybody knows that a morning coffee will help you poop or make you poop, right? Why does it do that? People will say, oh, it's probably the caffeine in it. Well, let's review something. Go and search caffeine pesticide. Caffeine is a pesticide produced by certain plants. At insect levels, it overwhelms their nervous system. If you look into most pesticides, synthetic pesticides, man-made pesticides, they almost all many of them affect acetylcholine, which is what the caffeine affects. So coffee has caffeine in it, which is a pesticide. Coffee is also very high in polyphenols. So go look up phenol. Phenols are generally toxic. So polyphenols, multiple phenols, this should be good for you, shouldn't it? If one phenol is bad, well, obviously, if nature bound a bunch of phenols together, it should be good, right? Plants would never try to use chemical warfare to protect themselves, would they? Can't plants just run away or use their claws or their teeth? Oh, wait, they don't have any of those. So they do chemical warfare. That's what they do. And then we've got all these brilliant people out there saying, eat all these brightly colored plant foods. Strongly colored. So when you see dark brown of coffee, that is a strong color. But that's also roasted, right? Polyphenols are not good for you. They give color to plants. Vitamin A gives color to plants. If you haven't learned about aposematism yet, aposematism is the concept that in nature, God's design, nature, whatever you choose to think of, brightly or strongly colored things are made that way to mark them as poisonous. So you're trying to eat the rainbow when nature is trying to tell you, don't eat this, I'm poisonous. If you eat me, you're eating poison. So we have caffeine, pesticide, we have polyphenols, which are there to mark the presence of poison. And if you go and you look up coffee and polyphenols, that's what they try to sell you on. It's got antioxidant polyphenols. Tannins are polyphenols. Phytoestrogens are often polyphenols. So, what if, let's say you take in a poison? How would your body get rid of those poisons? Through the bile? You just put in a bunch of poison. Your body gets rid of poisons through the bile. Do you think maybe your liver concentrates those poisons into the bile and dumps a bunch of bile trying to get rid of the poison? Does that make sense? If I didn't review the bile thing, for those of you who are constipated or those of you who have diarrhea, there was a study. Basically, they had people who were constipated, irritable bowel with constipation, irritable bowel with diarrhea, and then they had normal people, controls. These are not the exact numbers from the study, and I do not remember the units, but basically constipated people were in the 200 units of bile in their poop. They measured the bile in the poop. 200 units of bile in the poop was about what the constipated people were. 500 units of bile in the poop was the normal, the control people. I think it was 1,200 units of bile in the poop was the diarrhea folks. So what do we see here? Too much bile in the intestines causes diarrhea. Not enough bile in the intestines causes constipation. The right amount, Goldilocks amount, helps people poop normally. So you need bile in your intestines. With those constipated people, where's the bile? Why isn't it going into their guts? Could it be that they've either become toxic in certain ways, that they're not producing the bile? Or could it be that a lot of the bile is leaking into their bloodstream instead of staying in their guts? Which then just goes right back around to the liver again, right? The bloodstream then gets filtered by the liver. The liver takes out the stuff, puts it into the bile again, dumps the bile again. They're leaking it all into their bloodstream or too much of it into their bloodstream, and it just goes through the same loop. This is how most people, once they kind of have that first domino fall on their health, ladies, for you, it might be taking birth control. They knock over that first domino, your detox system is slower forever until you fix it. So any toxins you put in don't get excreted well. Then you build up more toxins, more toxic bile, creates more leakage, more toxins in your blood, and you start getting health issue after health issue after health issue. Oh, let's do Pokey 1, Pokey 2, Pokey 3, Pokey 4, Pokey 5. Oh, I wonder why people are getting sick. Let's do a Cufid Pokey and do a booster and a booster and a booster. We went over myocarditis, I think, in one of these live streams and how that's connected to vitamin A toxicity and liver injury and cholestasis and bile in the blood. Weird. Myocarditis, that's been popping up a bit lately. I wonder if certain things are causing liver injuries. Oh, you mean that's in the research? See, here we go, folks. Let's do this. I did this in a previous episode. First thing that comes up, I used the proper word for this. Cufid Pokey, I used the V word. Cufid, V word, liver injury, PubMed. And what came up? Drug-induced liver injury after Cufid Pokey. We get to connect everything here, folks. Everything is connected. No one put together the connections until Grant Genereux did his breakthrough personal experimentation with vitamin A and avoiding it and solving his chronic kidney disease. Gosh, how do kidneys go? Oh, is it bile getting to them? Oh, okay. fixed his chronic kidney disease, and I work with him. You know, he helps me out. We chat. I give Grant complete credit for opening my eyes to this problem. And then Anthony Mawson, who's written like, I don't know, 30 papers on connecting cholestasis and liver injury and vitamin A in the blood to all sorts of diseases. I stand on the shoulders of these men. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm just taking what they set up, and what I do. I'm the guy who takes the concepts and puts them in the real world and figures out how to make them work, how they work, and what to do them, and what is necessary and what isn't. I'm the pattern recognition guy of watching people, how they react to things, and then figuring out what to do. Making the decisions. That's what I do. So, Chris says, I've recently made the observation that bile dumping seems to be quote unquote contagious, or perhaps biologically resonant may be a better description. Have you noticed this as well? Yes. How could this be? Now, I'm going to keep this a little simpler than, the biological resonance idea. If you don't know what resonance is, you may want to look it up. I don't have time to explain resonance here too much, but it's that the idea that if one thing is vibrating at a certain frequency, if something else is by it that is similar enough, if this is vibrating, it can start this vibrating at the same frequency. Kind of like the piano keys is a big example, or piano tuning. Tuning a piano is going for resonance. You're trying to get these two things to, like the tuning fork and the piano key, to resonate so they have the same note. That's a very simplistic idea, and I'm no expert on piano tuning. But just to give you an idea. So if you've ever noticed, like if you're ever around somebody, let's just say that they're really depressed. And you're like, oh man, they're really bringing me down. You could be resonating with them, right? Their energy, their vibration is kind of changing or enhancing a certain vibration pattern in you. Why do a lot of people not feel good, or they get arthritic pain when it rains? Is it the rain? Is it the barometric pressure? Is the barometric pressure inducing some resonance, and then maybe they're dumping bile? Space weather. I have a whole section in the Love Your Liver program about space weather and how space weather increases all sorts of health conditions in people. There's research on it. The full moon. Tons of research on health conditions spiking with the full moon. Well, if we were to assume that the moon had some sort of magnetic pull on the earth or on us, we have things in us that are magnetic, like iron. If the moon is magnetic enough to move oceans, and we have iron in us, which makes us magnetic, it could tug on things in us. Where do we store our iron again? Oh, we store iron in our liver. Do you see how this is all connected? So could it be the moon causing this? Yes. Could it be the sun, like space weather? Yes. Why does everybody seem to get sick when the winter shows up? What's the resonance there? Is it just the weather? Is it the lack of sunlight? Anthony Mawson did a whole paper about how the lack of sun in the winter affects vitamin A metabolism in the body. Sunlight breaks down vitamin A in the skin. Oh, we must need vitamin A. That's why we were designed to break it down in the skin. That's why. So imagine this. Somebody gets vitamin A toxicity and their skin changes color. And yet we know that the sun breaks down vitamin A in the skin. If we're supposed to have vitamin A, why would our body put it in a place where the sun could break it down? Why were we designed that way? Or is it maybe that the body doesn't want the vitamin A and it knows that if it puts it in the skin, the sun can break it down? Now, let me give you a warning. The more vitamin A toxic you are, the easier you're going to burn. Usually the more sensitive your eyes are to light, And the more sensitive your skin is to getting burned, the more toxic you are, the more likely you are to get burned. That's just one sign. So if you hear me say the sun breaks down vitamin A in your skin and you're like, I'm going to go out and get tons of sun, and you go out and you mess yourself up, that is not my fault. I just told you. What we see over time is as we get people less toxic, they either don't burn anymore if they're in the sun for a long time, or they really barely burn a little bit and they don't peel. Peeling is a vitamin A thing, just so you know. When people overdose on vitamin A, they turn red and they peel about a week later. Does that sound like a sunburn to you? Did I just tell you that the sun breaks down vitamin A in your skin? What does the sun break things down? What is one of the things that vitamin A breaks down to? Retinoic acid. What does retinoic acid do to your skin? It chemically peels it. Are you putting it together yet? So can these energetic things be contagious? Sure. And you don't have to get into like all the woo-woo, like, ooh, the energy. You don't have to get into that. Space weather is electromagnetic. What's one of the big electrical things I deal with in the body? What is the most conductive mineral we have in our walls, running all our electricity through, and that a lot of people, I state, are toxic in? It's called copper. If we are biochemical electrical machines and we run on biochemical reactions, bioelectrical reactions, and you have too much of a conductive thing in your body, you start conducting too much electricity, more than you're supposed to, into places you're not supposed to. What's one of the symptoms of copper toxicity that some people can get? Tingling or a feeling of like electric shocks. So electromagnetic fields, right? Iron, magnetic, copper, electric. Schumann resonance, which is spiking crazy all the time these days. The Earth's heartbeat. Earthing, grounding. The Schumann resonance is not 7.83 hertz, hardly ever anymore. It's way higher than that. Why would people be getting strange conditions? Why is everybody going so crazy? Maybe it's too much bile in their blood. Do you know that antipsychotics really shut down your bile production? Weird. So you mean bile can make people crazy? Let me just put that paper up here. Bile can make people crazy. How does vitamin A mainly get into your bloodstream? Through the bile leaking. I'm saying that bile leaking into your blood, toxic bile leaking into your blood, is related to mental state, and that one of the things your toxic bile contains that will raise the vitamin A in your blood is vitamin A. Here's this paper. Three independent lines of evidence suggest retinoids as causal to schizophrenia. 3 independent lines of evidence suggest retinoids as causal to schizophrenia. Toxic bile contains vitamin A. Vitamin A, 3 lines of evidence connecting it to going crazy. The full moon is associated with people generally kind of losing their minds a little bit. What might the full moon do contagiously to a bunch of people? Cause them to dump bile and leak bile into their blood. Bile contains vitamin A. Vitamin A can make you crazy. Copper is also in the bile. If anybody knows anything about copper toxicity, depression, irritability, all this stuff, yeah, this is how it. So can it be contagious? Whether it's seasonal, like the winter, can it be the moon? Can it be space weather, which is really the sun? Could it be electromagnetic fields from 4G, 5G, 6G? Why not? Electromagnetic fields. Which one of those is man-made and could be nefariously used to induce sicknesses in certain areas at certain times? What if I were to tell you that I've found research on gigahertz, the gigahertz fields, and bile dumping? That would be weird, wouldn't it? Weird. So I think that's enough on that one. Carrie asks, any thoughts? This is the last question. Any thoughts on chronic kidney stones related to toxic bile? Adult daughter has chronic kidney stones. Okay, let's go over calcium. Most kidney stones are at least based in calcium, whether it's calcium oxalate stones or other calcium-related stones. What does vitamin A do in the body in terms of calcium? It yanks calcium out of the bones. You can look this up. Vitamin A causes hypercalcemia. Vitamin A toxicity causes hypercalcemia, high calcium in the blood. But vitamin A is not calcium. So how would vitamin A cause high calcium in the blood? Oh, if you look at the research, people getting more than 4,000 units of vitamin A in the blood, or in a day, 4,000 units of vitamin A in a day, which is not much. You people trying to eat healthy, you might be getting that in breakfast, or probably between breakfast and lunch. And so then your dinner is just pushing it even higher when you go and you eat spinach and sweet potatoes and all these healthy things, right? Healthy. So that's been shown to increase osteoporosis when your vitamin A goes up past a certain level. How does vitamin A raise calcium in your blood? It basically breaks down your bone, and then that calcium spills into your blood. Okay. So we have high calcium in the blood via bone breakdown via vitamin A. Too much calcium means your kidneys are going to be straining, if you will, filtering that calcium. And then we have a source of calcium for kidney stones. Okay, vitamin D supplements. Let's say people are taking the rat poison. If you haven't watched my vitamin D video on this channel, you should watch it. Things to know about vitamin D supplements. Make sure to watch the part about how it's used as rat poison. And then make sure to watch the part about how the guy who was called the Mengele of South Africa studied it to use as a genocidal tool. Wait, so gain of function studies, trying to find things that might spread. But they've also studied other genocidal tools using a vitamin that's recommended to like everybody by everybody, that's used as a rat poison and was studied as a genocidal tool. Weird coincidences. And even conventional doctors are telling you to take vitamin D pills. What do they know about nutrition? I could give them that, but I'd probably give them that. So, vitamin D, what does vitamin D do? It does one of two things depending upon how much calcium you have coming in your diet. If you have enough calcium coming in through your diet, it will increase the absorption of calcium in your intestines and put that calcium into your blood. If you don't have enough, whatever that is. Now, that doesn't mean you have to follow the Rockefeller created calcium intake guidelines, which can only be accomplished through eating dairy. The idea that humans have to suck on cow teats to survive is lunacy. Lunacy. You do not need a cow udder to live, and you never have. We have more dairy floating around these days than ever before. I don't care if it's raw or whatever. You don't need it. Need being the key word. You don't need it. You never did. So, if you have enough calcium coming in, enough, keyword there, you absorb more from your intestines with vitamin D. If you don't have enough calcium coming in, the vitamin D that you ingest will go to your bones and pull the calcium out of your bones. Vitamin D is going to, that you eat, that you supplement, or that you eat, is going to raise your blood calcium, as I say, by hook or by crook. It's going to raise your blood calcium. Vitamin A raises blood calcium. Vitamin D raises blood calcium. Both of them can pull the calcium out of your bones. When you have high calcium in your blood, and then people layer lots of dairy or calcium supplements on top of that, or they're eating foods that are high in calcium because they think they need it because they've been duped. Now you have all this the calcium coming in is like gasoline on the fire. Think of it as those two so-called vitamins control your calcium metabolism. So what you eat is not so important. It's what is controlling how it's absorbed and where it's coming from and where it's going. When you have too much calcium in your blood, what your body will do, if you have too much calcium going to your heart or your brain, it's going to, it could end you early. Okay. So what your body does, kind of like the liver stores toxins, if you have too much calcium floating around, your body's going to shove it into soft tissues. Joints, cartilage, tendons, ligaments, muscles, organs, kidneys. Here's a fun thing to think about. When you do an x-ray, right? What are x-rays really good at looking at? They're very, very good at looking at bones. What are bones made of mostly that we think of in terms of a mineral? Calcium. So when doctors are able to see something on an x-ray or a CAT scan, which is x-rays, hundreds of x-rays, they're seeing calcium deposits in places. How many diseases have been diagnosed via x-ray or CAT scan? A lot. Gosh, so what may be associated with all these diseases? Accumulating calcium in soft tissue. What am I telling you really causes accumulation of calcium in soft tissue via raising the blood calcium? Vitamin A, vitamin D supplements, an excess of calcium in the diet, throwing gasoline on the so-called vitamin fire. I don't know if I'll be able to find, I have a paper. I think it's on, let me see if I can find it on my forum real quick. So yeah, I wrote an article on kidney stones and vitamin A. Dogs with higher vitamin A in their blood had more kidney stones and other things like that. So let me post this. The first thing to stop kidney stones would be to reduce vitamin A intake. These are the things that I would do. I would drastically reduce and minimize my vitamin A intake. I would never, ever, 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 ever touch a vitamin D supplement in any amount, in any form ever again. I would absolutely not supplement my diet with any significant sources of calcium. Remember, how do cows get their calcium? Cow milk is 4 times higher in calcium than human milk. And what are cows designed to eat? Plants. So why in the world would we think that we can't get enough calcium from normal foods, like a whole food diet? Why would we ever think that? Maybe because the Rockefellers funded research that told us a lie to sell more dairy. Go look up Rockefeller and dairy. They're pretty involved in that industry and always have been. So one of the few things the alternative community gets right about nutrition is they generally are like, it's probably better to eat less dairy than more, or no dairy. Do I still eat some on occasion? Yeah. I'm not perfect. Do I think it's a health food? No. Absolutely not. So I got to get going. Hope you all enjoyed it. Again, if you want to work with me, go to nutritiondetective.com, look under the consultations tab. That's how you can work with me. If you want to do the do-it-yourself program that I talk about a lot here, there's a community there. There's the detox program. There's other things you can get into, like the Inner Circle, which is the video Q&A I do for my private group. That is at members.nutritiondetective.com. Also at the website, there's the supplements, lactoferrin, keystone minerals. We're working on more. And that's basically what we do to fix people. You can use the free information you get here to help you on your journey, or you could take advantage of 4 years of trial and error that we've already done and figured out what works and what doesn't. And then you can talk to other people, especially for those of you who are sensitive or who have had really tough time in the health world. We have lots of members in the Love Your Liver community who are similar to you. We get the people in the Love Your Liver community who weren't helped by anybody else, and they are finding help. So that is having those other people who are sensitive, who have tried these things, super helpful. Everybody who works with me doing my blood testing and hair testing and consultation and follow-up gets access to the Love Your Liver program, because that's the diet I need you to do and the other stuff. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you next week. Bye now.